All right, all. You have 2/3 of the not so grand jury. You got Geoff and Derrick.
Sup?
Well, we are an hour into what was supposed to be a recording where we talked about the newest season of King of the Hill, so season 14, which had come out on August 4th after, I think, 15 years of King of the Hill being off the air. And we've been waiting on Mike. Here's what we know about Mike. He has a story. He's at the police station, and he's giving some kind of statement. I believe that's all we know.
That is all we know. I'm not sure we want to include that in the episode, but we'll see.
We'll find out. We'll see what Mike tells us and whether or not
Mike is indisposed, and we'll
Right.
find out the story in the next episode.
So if we can't include that, here's what we'll say. We know that Mike is currently indisposed, and the police are involved. Therefore, we'll hopefully be able to clear that up in our next episode. And hopefully the next episode is going to be season 14 of King of the Hill. But since we weren't able to record that with all three of us, and since Mike is the reason we're doing King of the Hill,
right,
we're going to hold off on recording that. Geoff, tell us what the heck we're going to be, what the listeners are going to be listening to today.
Yeah, we are going to go back and listen to episode 7, episode 007 of the first run of the Not So Grand Jury. That was our episode on Knives Out. And so we obviously at the top of the episode you're about to hear, I'll give my little summary, but this was, as I recall, a fun conversation about wills and murder and things.
Wills and murder and things. Who doesn't love an episode on wills and murder and things?
Yep. A little bit of Frank Oz playing an attorney.
Oh, oh yes. I kind of forgot that happens in Knives Out.
He's kind of a spaced out attorney. His paralegal or associate is the one sort of guiding the conversation. It's kind of funny to watch the movie now. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I feel like I need to rewatch this movie now that you've mentioned it, because I haven't seen the original Knives Out in a while. I think we are going to be discussing Knives Out 2 at some point, which I think will be a good conversation. Well, it's going to be a lot to talk about, but it'll be a good conversation.
Oh, yeah.
And then sadly, just for the record, Derrick was not a guest host on this one. This was not the Love Guaranteed type episode. So you're not going to be hearing much of Derrick, and hopefully the comments won't be flooded with, thank God there was no Derrick on this episode. And if so, we're going to have to reevaluate my sponsorship of the podcast. Or I'll just be a passive sponsor with no active role in the podcast.
Well, that would be a bummer, because then I'd have to do more research.
That is 100% true. But we all know, as you've said on an episode, Geoff, you are the most capable. So at some point, one of us is going to have to get kicked off the island, although I really think that's Mike, but it is what it is.
Yeah, that's from the minority. I should have seen this coming.
I was not going to forget it. Again, I did not re-listen to the Minority Report prior to us releasing it. That's my bad, but now I'm going to make fun of you for it for the rest of the existence of the podcast. Anyway, enjoy Knives Out, and we will be back next week with hopefully King of the Hill season 14 if Mike is released.
Warning, we are not your attorneys. Please do not take anything we say as legal advice.
I'm Geoff.
And I'm Mike.
And you're listening to the Not So Grand Jury. Every episode, Mike and I explore the interesting legal implications raised by different movies. There will be spoilers. This episode, we're talking about Knives Out, and seriously, spoilers. If you have not seen this movie yet, stop. Stop now, watch the movie, and then come back. We will still be here.
Strange case from the start. A case with a hole in the middle. A donut. I'm just talking through my process here. Let me know if this is boring.
This week we are talking about Knives Out, probably my favorite movie of 2019.
Agreed.
Yeah, in the movie, it's Rian Johnson really reimagining a whodunit murder mystery. The movie starts with police officers and Daniel Craig's character investigating the possible murder of Harlan Thrombey. And through that lens, we see the full timeline of what unfolded and eventually discover how Harlan Thrombey died. So the big topic, the one that we're going to be talking about today, is homicide, murder, manslaughter. As our criminal law professor, Roger Clark, would say, murder is unlawful killing with malice aforethought.
So we should have brought... Oh, we could have used his New Zealand voice on this. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
Our criminal law professor, wonderful guy, Roger Clark, very strong New Zealand accent.
Yes, quite. Actually, if you want to hear his accent, you can go listen to an old All Too Common Law episode where I talked to him about the International Criminal Court.
You can link to him in the
yeah,
in the notes
I'll drop a link in the show notes.
So the part that, and we see this come up in the news regularly, the part that people don't always grasp, for something to be murder, the malice aforethought part is really defining. It can't be accidental. It can't be heat of passion even.
Yeah, for it to be
murder one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the definition I gave before is the common law definition of murder, but that language is in pretty much every murder one statute in every state and jurisdiction, some version of it.
Yeah, and really, actually, in Massachusetts, the distinction between murder one, first-degree murder, and second-degree murder is essentially, did you plan ahead to commit the murder or not?
Does that mean in Massachusetts, their murder two is more of a manslaughter act?
Well, no, because the prosecution proves murder in the first degree when they prove that the defendant caused the death of the victim, the defendant intended to kill the victim, the defendant committed the killing with deliberate premeditation, that is, quote, he decided to kill after a period of reflection. And then lastly, the defendant was not acting in self-defense when they acted and there were no mitigating circumstances. So that's premeditated first-degree murder. There's also something called felony murder, which is when you kill somebody that you didn't necessarily set out to kill, but you killed them in the course of a felony that has a maximum sentence of life imprisonment. That's felony first-degree murder. And then second-degree murder, which is what we're trying to draw a distinction between here, is where you, of course, cause the death of the victim, and the defendant either intended to kill the victim, intended to cause grievous bodily harm to the victim, but ended up killing them, or intended to do some act that, under the circumstances that the defendant knew about, a reasonable person would have known created a plain and strong likelihood that death would result.
I think that's enough restating the law. I guess we should probably apply the facts to it.
Yeah.
So in the movie, pretty early on, you think you see actually who done it.
This is what I just give you 100 milligrams of. I messed up.
You gave me 100 milligrams of the good stuff. Excuse me, but what is the good stuff's dosage supposed to be?
Let's not call it that right now, okay? 3 milligrams.
Oh, that's much less. So what happens?
Marta is administering her the nightly medicine to Harlan Thrombey, and seemingly accidentally, she gives him 100 milligrams of morphine, a lethal dose. And she can't find the Narcan. Was it Narcan or naloxone?
I believe it was Narcan.
Yeah, they can't find the Narcan, and it's too late. They're not going to be able to get an ambulance there. So Harlan directs her how to make this look like it was a suicide, and directs her how to sort of escape the property, and then slits his own throat.
I'm going to correct myself. I believe it was naloxone. Narcan is a brand of naloxone.
Yeah, naloxone's the generic.
And we should mention Marta is his essentially in-home nurse caregiver.
Yeah. Hopefully everyone has already seen the movie.
Hopefully.
So no malice, no planning beforehand, no forethought.
No.
Harlan does kill himself. Maybe Marta committed malpractice there, and she could be sued civilly by the family.
So it depends if she had actually given him 100 milligrams of morphine. Yes, that's medical malpractice. Thinking she gave him the wrong medication, but giving him the right medication, which then prompts him
To commit suicide.
to commit suicide. She has told him that she gave him the wrong medication. I would have to do some real digging into Massachusetts law and malpractice. And Massachusetts, incidentally, has its own malpractice tribunal that's separate from, that's like a special thing. And I have not had the opportunity to dig deeply into that.
Okay. Yeah, we later learned that Ransom Thrombey, Harlan's grandson, had intentionally switched the medication in what would almost certainly be attempted murder.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if do you think they could get him for tricking Harlan into committing suicide? This is the first time I've thought about that.
Yeah, that's what makes this such a difficult, because there's so many hypotheticals explicitly stated within the movie. So
yeah, we're sort of doing the fight the hypo section right now. Harlan's dead.
And he removed the naloxone so that there was no opportunity. He created the situation in which his choice was kill himself or die of a morphine overdose.
Kill himself or die of a morphine overdose, and Marta is the fall there. She's the victim.
Yeah.
Very devious of Ransom. The whole reason, and we'll get into this aspect a little later, the reason Ransom was doing this is the slaughter rule, where if you kill someone you're inheriting from, you cannot collect the estate.
And by the way, that's under Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 190B, Section 2803. I think actually either way, it's murder one for Ransom because of felony murder. Harlan did not die in the way he intended, but Harlan's death was a direct consequence of his actions in attempting to murder Harlan.
I don't know Massachusetts felony murder statute, and I'm surprised that actually the felony murder is murder one for them. Actually, can we double check that? Is felony murder one for them?
Felony murder is murder one.
Okay.
If the death is caused in the commission of or attempted commission of a crime punishable with death or life in prison. So presumably there's a second degree felony murder.
Yeah, my question is, it seems like merger should apply there. It seems weird.
Do you want to explain merger?
Okay. If you're committing a lesser crime and a greater crime, you only really can get convicted of one of them if they're connected in one act. So attempted robbery and robbery. Well, when I rob someone, I'm also attempting to rob them, but we only charge the robbery act. The attempted act, the inchoate act, merges into the greater crime. I'm sure that there's a case for this. I don't practice criminal law, so we said we said the original common law murder statute before, or common law murder definition before. The reason that you have felony murder is society decided that there's certain crimes that are so dangerous that if someone dies as someone's death is directly caused by this dangerous crime, we want to charge that person with murder. So arson, if you set a house on fire and you kill a bunch of little kids, we want to charge you for murdering those little kids, whether or not it was intentional or there was malice aforethought. So that's what felony murder exists for. And it does make sense. If you're attempting to murder someone, it's such a dangerous thing that we probably do want to charge murder. I guess you've convinced me on that part. Okay. So I guess the one other source of murder is actually the two others. So Ransom does kill, what's the housekeeper's name? Fran? Ransom does kill her. And there is a little bit of a twist where they think that she's still alive. So it would be attempted murder and some kind of assault. And then she actually is dead. So it would be murder.
Right.
And then he attempts to kill Marta. And just because he is incompetent about it and stabs her with a fake knife doesn't mean that it's not attempted murder.
That's true. Yeah. If tried and convicted of all three, he'd be serving quite a bit of time.
Yeah, I killed Fran, but I guess I didn't. So what do you have on me? Nothing. What, attempted murder? I get arson for the building and a few other charges. With a good lawyer, which I have, I'll be out in no time.
And he acts like, well, I guess since she survived, meeting Fran before it's revealed that Fran actually died, he confesses to having tried to kill her, and says, something to the effect of, but I guess you've only got me there for attempted murder. Like, that's less.
Yeah, like you
But-
don't want to go to jail for attempted murder.
Yeah, because being convicted of attempting to do a crime, the sentence is still what it would have been had you succeeded. That's not going to help him all that much, especially when the victim is still alive and could testify, although he doesn't realize she's actually dead.
Yes. So I guess the next thread of criminal stuff is all of the constant obstruction of justice.
Well, let's talk a bit about manslaughter. Just
Okay, all right.
because, so what...
Can't spell manslaughter without laughter.
That's weirdly true, yes. So what Marta probably could have been charged with, if she had actually given him the wrong medication and it was entirely accidental, what she could be convicted of is involuntary manslaughter. And I had a long debate with a prosecutor friend of mine about whether or not she would be convicted of it. But involuntary manslaughter can be done by wanton or reckless conduct. And that's where here Marta causes Harlan's death. She intended the action that led to his death, which was giving him medication. And by not confirming that whatever medication she was giving him was the right medication, which is complicated because the medication that she thought she was giving him was not the medication that she was giving him. Mm-hmm. This movie makes it very difficult to piece through all this. That she acted wantonly or recklessly. She likely could be charged with involuntary manslaughter. Mm-hmm. And manslaughter is when you cause the death of somebody without any malice.
So do you think that she would have been convicted of manslaughter?
If we're in a world where Ransom did not switch the medications and she she accidentally gives him morphine, I think that yes, she owed him a duty of care. She did not check which medication she was giving him. And so, yes, I think you could show that she acted wantonly and she could be convicted of involuntary manslaughter.
Okay.
Now, it's more complicated if we're talking about the situation that actually happens in the movie where Ransom switched the medications. So she actually gave him the right medication, but did so recklessly by not checking what medication she was giving him. Mm-hmm. And that did lead to his death. But if she had been exercising the requisite level of care for a healthcare provider, and she had read the labels and gone in accordance with what the labels said, then she actually would have been killing him.
You know, it occurs to me that his family still has incentive to sue her for malpractice. She's the one with the money, and she didn't show the standard care that you would show someone by checking the label.
Except, yes, yes, that's true. Because she's got all their money at the end of the movie, spoiler alert. Mm-hmm. And, except you run into the problem of, because of Ransom's intervening act of switching the medication, if she exercised the proper level of care,
she would have killed him.
She would have killed him. And by not exercising the requisite level of care, she did not directly kill him, but he made the choice to kill himself.
You want me to throw one more wrench into it?
Go right ahead.
Intentional infliction of emotional distress. Ransom's acts caused Harlan to commit suicide, and I'm wondering if that could be intentional infliction of emotional distress, like convincing someone that they had a lethal dose of drugs injected into them.
Interesting. Possibly.
Yeah.
Marta would probably also have a claim for him making her think that she had administered a fatal dose of medication to her friend, or tricking her into administering a fatal dose.
So I'm just going to read a quick definition of intentional infliction of emotional distress. The defendant's conduct is outrageous. The defendant acts for the purpose of causing the victim emotional distress so severe that it could be expected to adversely affect mental health. The defendant's conduct causes such distress. So that Marta could definitely claim it there. Convincing someone that they administered a lethal dose of medication to someone is an outrageous act.
Well, but hang on. I think not, because Ransom did not act in order to inflict emotional harm. He didn't, kill Harlan or set up a situation in which Harlan would die in order to emotionally disturb Marta or Harlan. Because that statute, the text, and we're talking here, we're getting into like distinctions between general intent and specific intent.
Yeah, and this is from Cornell. I think this is just a generic statement of it.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah. I don't think that I don't think you have to emotionally torture someone to get intentional infliction of emotional distress. I don't think that's what is intended by this.
Okay, but under that definition, for the benefit of the listener, there are general intent statute, or there are crimes that require a general intent, where all you had to intend was to do the act that caused the criminal result. Then there is specific intent, where you had to intend to cause the criminal results. So, well, much like, voluntary manslaughter, where I intend to do an act and it results in someone's death, that is general intent. Whatever action I took was done intentionally. Whereas specific intent is what we're talking about here, where it said he must have acted with the intent to cause emotional harm. The emotional harm was not an accidental result of his action. It was the goal of his action. This is a case from 2014 from the Supreme Judicial Court of Massachusetts. To make a claim of intentional infliction of emotional distress, the plaintiffs are required to show, 1, that the defendant intended, knew, or should have known that his conduct would cause emotional distress, that the conduct was extreme or dangerous, that the conduct did cause emotional distress, not just that it could have, and that the emotional distress was severe. So, yeah. So he would presumably have known.
You either have to know, or you're, a psychopath who should have known.
Or should have known. Yeah, that by switching the medications, he would be inflicting severe emotional distress on Marta.
And Harlan.
Well, and Harlan, yeah. That would be sufficient to make a claim of intentional infliction of emotional distress in Massachusetts. Interesting.
Yeah. Wasn't that fun, listeners?
Well, the listeners will get only a slight,
Yeah.
I will edit that down significantly.
They will miss the 10 minutes of research. Okay.
Should we talk about the will?
Let's stick with the criminal stuff first, and then we'll go to the will.
Oh, okay.
Because there still is the constant obstruction of justice of everyone in this movie.
Everyone in this movie.
Marta destroying the tape and covering up her footprints. Ransom doing whatever Ransom does.
Yeah. Ransom destroying the forensics lab by arson.
Also lying to the investigators.
Yeah, lying to the investigators is the big one there. Engaging in a lengthy, absurd car chase also.
Or just running from the police. I mean,
should we see if we can? I did not find, and I went looking, a statutory definition of obstruction of justice under Massachusetts law.
There's got to be case law or something. Disguises to obstruct execution of law, performance of duties, or exercise of rights. What the fuck?
But that is just, if you look at the text, that's where they've just put on a disguise. Like if you've dressed up as a cop.
That's amazing. That's my favorite Massachusetts law. The law that says you're not allowed to dress up like a cop.
Yep. Okay. To convict a defendant of interference with a police officer, the Commonwealth must prove that the defendant intended his or her conduct and intended the harmful consequences of that conduct. That is, the interference with, obstruction, or hindrance of the police officer. So whatever act that may be that interferes with an investigation, obstructs, or hinders. So yeah, like you said, everybody's hindering this investigation.
Yeah. And there's different kinds of obstruction of justice, so destruction of evidence is a kind of obstruction of justice. Lying to the police can be another kind.
Fleeing the jurisdiction.
Yeah, it could just be prosecutorial discretion about whether or not they would charge Marta at this point because she was covering up a crime that she didn't commit.
Yeah, at the behest of the victim when she when she wanted to call 911, wanted to get an ambulance.
Which everything would have been fine then.
Everything would have been fine if he had just let her do what she wanted to do.
Yeah.
As Benoit Blanc points out to her at the end of the movie, this all worked out, well, scratch that, because it would have worked out had she not listened to Harlan.
Yeah. If Harlan just hadn't murdered himself.
Yep. Everybody's interfering.
Everybody's interfering with the police.
Interfering with the police officer, yeah. Left and right. So, in the end, Harlan does in fact die, which means that the family finds out that he disinherited all of them, or attempted to, by writing a new will a week before his death. So let's talk a bit about that.
Wow. Well, yeah, not too complex at all. This will be quick. I, Harlan Thrombey, being of sound mind and body and yada, 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 I hereby direct that all my assets, both liquid and otherwise, I leave in their entirety to Marta Cabrera. My entire ownership of Blood Like Wine Publishing, I leave in its entirety to Marta Cabrera. The copyright of its catalog, likewise, I leave in its entirety to Marta Cabrera.
So, I mean, everyone hopefully is familiar with the concept of a will. It's what you use to pass on all, your property and assets after you die. Massachusetts, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, it's what you use to disinherit your ungrateful progeny.
Yes. That's what you use it for. Or sometimes to get them to do things that you want them to do. Like virtually every state, Massachusetts has a statute that governs what a will has to look like, what you have to do to make it valid, all sorts of different things. So in order for a will to be valid, you have to, of course, sign it. And also in virtually every state, someone has to witness you signing it. And in Massachusetts, you actually have to have 2 witnesses sign a will. Harlan's will, we get a shot of it in the movie. Very briefly, we get a look at the 1-page will he wrote up a week before he died. And there are no witness signatures. It's just his signature. In fact, the contents of it seem to come as a surprise to even his own attorney, played by the wonderful Frank Oz.
Yeah.
And maybe here we can segue into our discussion about The Last Jedi.
I think Daniel Craig might have was in The Force Awakens.
Yes.
Okay, he was just a stormtrooper.
Yep. And Daniel Craig and Ana de Armas, who plays Marta, are both in the upcoming Bond movie.
Oh, I'm hoping that Daniel Craig makes... not hoping. I expect Daniel Craig eventually will make a jump over to the Marvel movies. Shave his head and make him Professor X or something.
That would be interesting.
Yeah.
So, but what I'm getting at is that this will is not valid.
Unless on the back there's all the witness signatures.
No, but we see the back, and there's nothing.
Oh, we do?
on the
Okay.
back.
Yeah. Oh.
So, since the will is not valid, whatever will he had previously would be the operative one, and all his kids would still inherit. Presuming, and I'm going to drop the audio in, so the audience, the listeners will know, but if I remember correctly, Frank Oz sort of does a yada, yada, yada a bit while he's reading the form. So maybe there's some language in there saying, and with the attached, or with the witness statements, referenced herein. And so there's a couple of other documents somewhere that have witness attestations. Barring that, this will is not valid.
So one other way around all this, every state has to recognize and honor valid wills in other states.
Yes.
So in theory, he could have gone to a state that doesn't need witnesses. And
I think you do have to reside in the state where you're making the will.
Well, he was secretly resident of this. He was a resident of that secret imaginary state. He just happened to reside in Boston. Or he had a house.
Yeah, if this was his vacation home, I don't think that's how residency works.
Although he might have had multiple houses.
Yeah, that's a possibility. But still, not what happened here. But so let's talk about a few other things here, because the family, when they learn that they've all been disinherited, they do some quick Googling and come up with a couple of ways you can challenge a will.
Alan, there have got to be options here.
No, I don't know how many times I can repeat the same 2 pieces of information. If Harlan was of sound mind when he made the changes, and we all confirmed that he was...
Would a sound mind do this? How?
The very action speaks to unsoundness.
Not legally, no. You not liking what he did does not speak to testamentary capacity.
What about undue influence?
Yeah, undue influence. How about that? Huh?
Did you just Google that?
Look, if Marta was manipulating Dad somehow...
If somehow she had gotten her hooks into him.
You need a strong case for that. Your Honor, she endeared herself to him through hard work and good humor. That won't cut the salami.
What about the Slayer rule? I did just Google that.
The Slayer rule obviously doesn't apply here.
Well, what the hell's the Slayer rule?
Well, it's if someone is convicted of killing the person, they don't get their inheritance.
Not even convicted, even if they're held responsible for their death in civil court.
Like OJ?
Yes, like OJ. But Harlan committed suicide.
And to the movie's credit, these are all valid ways to challenge a will or a provision of a will. The one we've already mentioned is the Slayer rule. And then also they mention undue influence and lack of capacity. And neither of them, as the attorney points out, neither of them really apply here. Undue influence exists when you have a person signing something or making some sort of decision with legal force who is susceptible to influence. The person doing the influencing exerted some sort of improper influence over them. That person submitted to, quote, the overmastering effect of their influence.
Yeah, very often you see it if someone has dementia or Alzheimer's and someone is influencing them in that state. The movie correctly states that is not valid in the situation. Everyone agreed that he's of sound mind. Slayer rule, one of my favorite rules, if you kill someone, you cannot inherit their property. Basic rule coming from common law. Some version of it exists in every state.
Mm-hmm.
I just like to imagine that most of these old laws come from some random case where this happened and the judge was looking at it and realized, like, oh, this isn't a good thing.
Yeah.
You know, some child killed his parents and then wants to inherit the house. It's like, no, we can't. No.
It is a safe bet that virtually everything, even if it exists in statute now, if it had its origins in the common law, some asshole in Britain in like the 1400s tried some shit. And a judge nixed it. And that's how we got the law as it is.
And so the reason that is relevant, and Ransom, with his evil plot, realized right away, if he makes it look like Marta killed Harlan, then either the will is going to be thrown out and a previous will take its place, or the will is going to be thrown out and normal inheritance will take place intestate, where the normal inheritance process will take place.
Yes. Which is also defined by statute, but I didn't bother to write that one down.
Yeah, we don't need to worry about that.
And also, so those are the 3 objections that they raise. I pointed out that the will is not valid because it wasn't validly executed, which presumably Frank Oz's, I think his name's Alan, the attorney, would have recognized right away. Also, if a will is signed under duress, but there's no indication that this was under duress, where someone's literally got a gun to your head saying, sign it. So the big problem here is that the will that they're going from is, in fact, within the text of the movie, not validly executed and therefore not valid. So Marta wouldn't have gotten anything.
Yeah.
There, fought the hypo.
Good job, Geoff. I think that's all the big issues, right?
I think so. We could talk a little bit. I mean, I feel like we've talked about IP law quite a bit, but, there's a fight between Harlan and his son, Michael Shannon's character, who wants to license, his books to make film adaptations, merchandise, things like that. And Harlan is downright refusing. Did you want to delve into that beyond simply acknowledging?
There's not much to talk about there. Harlan has the right to do what he wants with his own intellectual property, and then whoever inherits that right can do whatever they want with it. Yeah. We will spend more time talking about intellectual property in the future.
Undoubtedly.
Any other random notes from the movie you want to talk about?
Let's see. The will reading, first of all, Benoit Blanc is entirely accurate when he's describing the process of a will reading.
Yeah, well, they've got plans to read the will at around 10, so the whole family will be here soon.
I've never been to a will reading.
Oh, You think it'd be like a game show, but think of a community theater production of a tax return.
It is, usually incredibly boring. Wills tend to be like 5 to 10 pages of very dry legalese and not at all exciting to hear read aloud. So, and I enjoyed his description of it. But it struck me as a little funny, and I think maybe justified by the family's behavior. But Frank Oz's character shows up at 10 a.m. for the will reading, and then is at the house all day. And the film implies he's just sitting there while they are arguing and trying to come up with some way that it's not valid, because by the time he leaves, it's nighttime, which that's a full day of build hours. Not sure who he'd be billing. I guess the estate. So Marta, but
I don't know how wills and trust attorneys bill. I don't know if it's flat fee or hourly. I assume it's hourly.
Yeah, since a couple of attorneys that I used to work with did wills and trusts, a lot of that is done on an hourly basis, particularly where there's things that are contested and whatnot. Although none of them within the movie take any steps to contest the will. Oh, one thing we should note, that and it's not really legally related. It's not law related, but she does immediately after learning that she doesn't have the naloxone, she dials 911 and it rings.
Oh, so there would be a record of that.
So there would be a record of someone dialing 911 at roughly midnight that night, which once she tells her story, her actual story to Benoit Blanc and the police would have matched up entirely. But
surprising that didn't come up in the actual investigation.
Yeah.
That originating from the house at the time of his death was a single ring to 911.
Yeah. But actually, in a weird way, something I like in a whodunit, or something that I get out of a whodunit, and that I think a lot of audience members get, is an enjoyment when they notice little plot holes, because, it makes you feel smart.
Yeah.
So part of me wonders if the quote unquote perfect whodunit that has no plot holes would be less enjoyable to a certain extent than one that has a few plot holes here and there that if you're looking, you'll notice.
I always wonder with these movies, are you supposed to, is the perfect whodunit, this is probably the best one I've ever seen, is the best whodunit the one that you can figure out on your own before it's revealed? Or is that a negative because then it's predictable? And in this case, they play with your expectations by revealing ostensibly what happened 30 minutes into the movie.
I think so. If we're specifically talking about the mystery genre of whodunits, then no. I think you don't want to be ahead of the detective. If you're watching a more straight mystery, like a Law and Order episode or something, then it would be cheating to do what a lot of whodunits do and kind of play a little fast and loose with things.
The actual murder you don't see until the last scene when they're revealed.
Yeah. Or, a lot of Sherlock Holmes stuff, like he's pulling from this, esoteric knowledge that no one in their right mind would have. So, yeah. Although I think Clue might be the more... I think I enjoy Clue more than this movie. But you'd have to come back and talk to me like 20 years after now to get my opinion of Knives Out compared to my current opinion of Clue 20 years in, which is a movie I still watch and very much enjoy.
I have not watched that since I was a little kid and I don't remember it.
Oh, it's so much fun. One of the most quotable movies I've ever seen.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
I thought this movie was very quotable too.
It is.
I spoke in the car about the hole at the center of this donut. And what you and Harlan did that fateful night seems at first glance to fill that hole perfectly. A donut hole in a donut's hole. But we must look a little closer. And when we do, we see the donut hole has a hole in its center. It is not a donut hole,
but a smaller donut with its own hole.
This is where you drop in the little Nazi masturbating joylessly in the bathroom.
What were the overheard words by the Nazi child masturbating in the bathroom?
Yes.
I feel bad only because like there are real Nazis and white supremacists out there. I feel like it's hard to act like that. Like I think this character is supposed to be Stephen Miller, and I don't think the actor is capable of portraying the evil that is Stephen Miller.
That's possible. That's fair. Yeah.
You know that one? I don't even know what the movie is from, but there's that one clip of Hitler ranting that became a meme.
The movie clip from The Fall or whatever it's called.
You need that kind of performance to really get like the evil of Hitler. And I just don't think this kid at like 16 years old is capable of portraying
that kind of
yeah. What I'm saying is he's too good of a person. I love this movie. I thought it was the best movie in 2019. I like what ended up winning Best Picture last year.
I don't know the answer to that question, and
hey Siri, look up Best Picture. Sorry. So it was Parasite, which I still haven't seen actually. So I guess I can't say that it was
right. Yeah, I haven't seen that either.
Yeah, that might be streaming somewhere. I should look that up. So I can't say it's better than that because I have not seen that movie. This was my favorite movie that I saw in 2019, 2020. I would give it 9 justices for the quality of the movie. Yeah, and then maybe 8 for the law. I think the only thing that we caught that was wrong was the will might be off. But even that maybe there was something we missed. Maybe something happens off screen where there's another page.
I am trying to I'm trying to maintain a consistency between my reviews, and quality wise, yes, I give 9 out of 9 justices. Watch this movie, please. It's so good. As for the law, I think I've got to, because all of it hinges on the will, and they screwed up the will. I mean, all it would have taken was 2 more signatures on that sheet.
Yeah, and
and not including them, undermines the basis, especially if you're going to have characters spouting off valid reasons why a will can be invalidated. Yeah. I'm going to give it 5 out of 9 justices.
Oh wow, okay. I didn't even catch that mistake till you pointed it out today, so
okay,
maybe I'm a little lighter on it.
Yeah, just because it was so core to the movie and they got it wrong.
I'm going to stick with my judgment. I think that they got everything else right, so I'm fine with it.
Okay. And they got like a main bit wrong. Yes. And now I feel like I do kind of have to justify why I'm giving it a 5 and not a 4. And that's that, everything else that they give Frank Oz's character to say, like, no, it's not undue influence for her to endear herself to him, and such that he feels like at the end of his life, he wants to give her his estate. That's not going to fly. There were a lot of things that were very well done, except for that one little bit where she doesn't actually get to inherit anything at all.
Because it's a bad will. Yeah, fair enough. I love that movie.
Oh yeah. I will watch. I'm gonna have to watch it again tonight to pull quotes, and I'm looking forward to it. So
there we go. Yeah,
stream it on Netflix and watch it again.
Prime,
right? Yes. Watch it on Amazon and pull the clips that way.
This is a great movie, and they're gonna make a sequel to it. I'm sure. They've already kind of speculated on it a little bit. I'm fine with that. Lots of sequels are very good. Some very often better. But man, like, wouldn't it be great if Rian Johnson were making another movie that's different? There is some benefit to that.
That is true. Yeah. There's always that fear of missing out. Like, are we losing something by getting more of this? And who knows?
It's funny because George Miller made Mad Max, has made a bunch of movies in the series. It wasn't until the 4th one, Fury Road, that the previous ones were good. Fury Road is the best. It wasn't until the 4th movie that he really hit his stride. But we've been waiting 6 years for them to make another one because it's all held up with rights issues.
Gotcha.
The Not So Grand Jury is sponsored by Morwapi LLC.
The opinions expressed in the Not So Grand Jury are those of the hosts themselves and not of their respective employers.
The theme music for the Not So Grand Jury is from Gustav Holst's Jupiter and is in the public domain.
If you'd like to get in touch with us, if you want to suggest future movies, or even if you want to offer corrections, you can email us at notsograndjury@gmail.com or message us on any of our social media accounts.
The Not So Grand Jury is copyright 2025, all rights reserved.